All right, welcome back to Fantastic Four Life Story. We went over issue 1 and issue 2 so far. Now we're on issue 3, the 80s, with Johnny Storm as the main narrator of this one. When I first read this, I thought it was in the point of view of Iron Man for a minute, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be my least favorite issue. And then I realized that I just am stupid, and it's Johnny Storm. I was like, it doesn't make sense to have Iron Man be the narrator, but whatever. So let's just hop in. We start in 1984 with Tony and Reed meeting with the president at the time, who was Ronald Reagan, with the idea that the best way to lead America is protecting it. Galactus is coming, but with your help, we can be ready. I've been working with Stark Industries on a space-based defense network with which to defend the entire planet. It's called the Strategic Defense Initiative. And then we see the flyer that they give out, what it is, and it looks like the Earth with a bunch of missiles around it. I don't want to sound like an idiot, but I feel like a 2-year-old could do that. But they ask, isn't the missiles pointing at the wrong direction? We're in the 80s. The biggest threat to us is the Soviet Union, not Galacto. And Reed responds, only an idiot points a gun at his own head. And this is where we get into what happened last time when he met with Lyndon B. Johnson. They were talking about Vietnam. The problem is that they're not thinking in the future. They're thinking about the present tense right now. What is the problem right now? What do we need to do now? Not what do we need to take care of in the future? And I love that Reed's point is you don't need a space defense against the Soviet. The threat of a nuclear annihilation keeps them in check. We're in the Cold War. And Tony believes that a space defense against the Soviets would backfire. But all this talk essentially gets down to they like the weapon. We just want to aim it at a different enemy. Essentially, we're preparing this series to be, we didn't think ahead, we didn't think of the future, we didn't think of any upcoming threats, we didn't listen to you, now we're going to get destroyed by Galactus because we didn't listen to you, we're only thinking about the now. That's kind of where we're leading up to, and we will see more of that later, but continuing on, Reed gets frustrated, he leaves, he doesn't want to do this idea, and we finally get Johnny's little tidbit. A lot has changed in the last few years, of course. Most things haven't. The important things rarely do. Doc still spends most of his time preparing for Galactus, but the way I see it, if you spend your whole life worrying, one of two things will happen. Disaster will strike, making all your worrying pointless, or it won't, making it all a waste of time. Either way, it destroys you. And we've been seeing that out of Reed. I mean, Sue left him because he's been so obsessed with getting rid of Galactus. He teamed up with Victor Von Doom. I mean, that guy's last name is literally Doom. This has been eating at Reed. But the only thing Tony says to Reed is, I know it's discouraging, but give it time. You showed them an idea. They're just not ready for it yet. It's always easier to sell the past than the future. And then Reed just leaves in the Fantastic Car. Johnny goes on, people always tell you to grow up like it's a good thing. Growing up is absolutely the most dangerous thing you can do. And that's a man who voluntarily sets himself on fire telling you that. Johnny is going to a police station to pick up none other than his nephew, Franklin Richards. As a kid, you somehow intuitively realize the truth that life is a party. But then every single adult in your life makes it their sacred duty to convince you otherwise. Don't let him. So Johnny picks up Franklin. He's like, I'm sure he learned his lesson. Let's go, Franklin. The police officers hand him the incident report. And this is what we learn, is that Franklin is having episodes, powers. His powers are manifesting. He has psionic powers. They take over sometimes. They amplify everything. And all the brains around me, it overwhelms them. It overwhelms me. So I ran away. I didn't know what else to do. We are getting Franklin Richards. Is he as powerful as he normally is in the main run? Probably not. This doesn't look like that. But he has powers. Franklin tells Johnny, I used to think that mom and dad sent me to that expensive boarding school to get rid of me, but now I know. It's because nobody would be able to put up with me unless they were paid a ton of money. Are they going to be mad that I ran away? Johnny replies, I extorted your father, helped him steal a spaceship. Honestly, Franklin, don't worry about it. It's okay. Heading back to Franklin Richards' house, we see that Ben and Reed still live together. Reed doesn't really notice that Franklin got in trouble. Doesn't really matter. Reed asks, how's Sue? And Johnny delivers the bad news. Life is a surprise party. Here is your divorce papers, Reed. I hated to drop that bomb on Reed, especially right before a TV appearance, but there's no such thing as a good time for bad news. And we see Reed is actually going onto the news to talk about all the Fantastic Four stories. The assistant tells him, just get rid of all the science and boring stuff like Galactus. It's too much of a bummer. We want to have Fantastic Four. We want to have the fun stuff. Obviously, with just getting served divorce papers, Reed in his head is just thinking about Sue and this divorce. We've been separated for years, but divorce? Why now? I guess I just always believed she'd come back to me. That lady is tangling with Namor right now, bro. Just, you're cooked, dog. I'm so sorry for you. This has to be one of the worst versions of Sue. Not because she's independent and wants to show that she's not invisible anymore, just because she's with Namor and just left Reed. So terrible. I can't excuse both of their actions. They're both in the wrong, but terrible. But he continues on, what a fool I was for taking her for granted, for imagining she was my reward. His co-host that he's with is talking about computers. The Soviet air defense system was wrong. One of the generals chose to ignore the warning. If he didn't do that, we would all be dead. Essentially, he's going into computer technology is wrong. It's a matter of life or death. That's why improving technology is important. And Reed thinks, what else have I been wrong about then? But picking up with Johnny, he's going to the UN. He's going to commemorate the anniversary of Dr. Doom's attack on the United Nations. They invited us to speak on saving the world. Saving the world is pretty uncontroversial. As causes go, most people seem on board with that. And everyone's got their own opinion on what we should be saving it from. Johnny meets with Sue and Namor there. The person walking them around informs them, we discovered that Dr. Doom was in fact the Crown Prince of Latveria. Very difficult to move him then. Latveria is a rogue state, a hermit kingdom with secret agents everywhere. So we had no choice but to incarcerate him right here in this very building. And we see Dr. Doom is stuck behind some bars. He's trapped in the UN. I didn't know they had prison cells there, honestly. Johnny continues on. One question people never seem to ask is, what are we saving the world for? The lady walks them to the stage. They announce, thank you, Sue Storm. You are the hero of that fateful day. They all clap for her. Johnny continues on. Everything we think we know, everything we do to convince one another that everything's going to be all right, in the end, they're all just party tricks. And of course, with Johnny Storm, he is paragon of party animals. And we see some flashbacks about Johnny before he even got his powers. He's inhaling fire. He's learning party tricks, what to do. He's like, they call me the Human Torch already. But he continues on to convince other people that we know what we're doing, that we're in control. Or perhaps convince ourselves. Sue Storm finishes her speech and they invite Johnny to go up. And of course, Spider-Man is in the back. I love that they keep Spider-Man and Johnny's relationship still here. We'll see a bit of that in a minute. But Johnny goes on. Hello, is this thing on? Can you hear me, Zimbabwe? Okay, the world is pretty much doomed. I think we can agree on that, right? Not too crazy, not putting corn on the pizza controversial. I mean, the Cold War is basically just a name we've come up with for the potato sack race to see who can destroy the world first. And if we manage to survive that, Galactus will also probably get us. Or, if not, we'll simply drown in our own smog, sewage, and potato chip bags. And one of the leaders at the UN asks, excuse me, but how is this about saving the world? And Johnny goes, it's not. The world is messed up. My point is, enjoy it while it lasts. I knew the look on their faces. I've seen it many times before. It was the look that said, why don't you just grow up already? And then he talks to Spider-Man, chit-chatting. They both go over how they're basically almost 40 years old. We scroll down, we see Namor talking to another leader, Sue Storm talking to them about algae and the population of women. And then somebody comes up to talk to Johnny. Hey, that was an interesting speech, Mr. Storm. One rarely meets a cheerful cynic. And Johnny replies, that's what happens when you give the mistake of giving one a microphone. But the gentleman replies, perhaps you're right, young man. Perhaps the world is doomed, and we are merely waiting to see which unhappy ending it will be. It's a feeling I understand well, but in my experience, it's precisely why you cannot give in to cynicism. During the war, I spent 3 years in concentration camps. The moment I arrived, I considered diving into the electrified barbed wire, getting it over with. Most new prisoners considered doing that, though few went through with it. For what was the point when you were just as likely to be sent to the gas chamber the next day? Besides, the wire would always be there tomorrow, so you continued to live. The gas kept you off the wire, and the wire kept you off fearing the gas. Between two death sentences, I walked down the middle, and that's where I found it. How much life stood between those two. This guy sounds just like Magneto, but don't worry, the X-Men never show up in anything awesome. They always get skipped over in these stuff. But anyways, he's trying to say that between one death and the other death, that's where you keep living because there's nowhere else to go. So just might as well keep doing it. But now we meet with the president. We're going to call it Star Wars. People like Star Wars. This is the gentleman that we saw before that was co-hosting with Reed Richards talking about the computer technology, how we need to revolutionize it. This is also the gentleman we saw at the UN talking next to Johnny Storm, not talking to Johnny Storm. And he says, he's right. Galactus is coming. Reed Richards is proof that a man can see the big picture and still think too small. By the way, you've been applying too much pressure on the Soviets, flying your bombers right to the edge of Soviet spacecraft, forcing some guy making 80 rubles a week to decide the fate of humanity before he's had lunch. And then you call your bombers back at the last possible second, all to put the Soviets on their heels, to feel like you're in control. But it's a matter of time before you get a Soviet radar officer who's got terminal cancer or whose wife just simply left him. He flips a coin, and when that happens, it sets a chain of events beyond your control. In the meantime, how long are you willing to walk in the rain without an umbrella? So basically, how long are you willing to just chance it that Russia will not just attack you, that they'll keep a neutral stance and won't cause the war? Or are you actually want to take steps forward and make sure that we are protected as America and can strike Russia first if we need to? So it keeps on. Let me take over the Star Wars program with my computer technology. It'll be working within 2 years. The president replies, sure, what do you need to make this happen? And his response is, let me pick all of America's top scientists. And so he picks Victor Von Doom. Dr. Doom, at the request of the U.S. government, you are released into the custody of Jose Santini. And we see this gentleman wearing the worst shirt I've ever seen get Dr. Doom out of jail. They get into the airplane. They're like, where are you going? We're going to Latveria. And reveal that this is actually the real Mad Thinker. This isn't Jose Santini. And then picking up with Johnny again, Reagan cruised to a second term in part because of Reed's wacky Star Wars idea. Not that Reed noticed. He's buried himself in that lab of his. But he's preoccupied with artificial intelligence, convinced that's how he's going to defeat Galactus. And we see Reed with the Mad Thinker skull from the robot that they destroyed in issue 2. But I think he's simply looking for a tomb large enough for his own ego. The Fantastic Four is pretty much over, like a band that hasn't broken up yet, but everyone's making solo albums. Shout out to the Beatles. Oh, well, actually shout out to the Fleetwood Mac of superhero teams. It may have been a tragedy that brought us all together, but with time, the tragedy fades, and what you're left with are the people who helped you survive it. So the Fantastic Four is on a temporary hiatus. Shout out to the Gorillas for having like a 7-year hiatus, but now they came back. That's going to be like the Fantastic Four. I know some music. I don't know. I'm okay with music. Anyways, meeting back in Latveria, the Mad Thinker and Dr. Doom are talking. Why are we building in a bunker when we could build in a mountain? Why not a castle that commands the mountains as mine does? And the Mad Thinker responds, a castle is just a little too exposed for what we're going to do. You were right about Dr. Richards. He isn't willing to do what it takes to save the world. And neither are you, Dr. Doom. I've run quadrillions of computer simulations of the coming battle with Galactus, and only 0.001% of them do we survive. And those only because somehow Galactus got lost or lost his mind. In the end, there's only one way to stop Galactus from destroying Earth. By destroying it ourselves. Not completely though, but enough so that it won't be worth his while. Enough for him to see that we're mere roadkill on the great cosmic highway. Galactus leaves. Survivors can come out of their expensive mountain bunkers and rebuild. And Doom responds, you are fucking insane. What? This is terrible. And he responds, well, yeah, I mean, like, I'm literally called the Mad Thinker. I don't know what you're expecting. And then going back with Johnny, I've never understood people, and maybe they're right. Maybe it's because I never grew up. But why would you gamble everything on a bet that even if you win, doesn't pay you anything that you didn't already have. What's the point of a conflict created solely by the fear of conflict? And we see that the Star Wars mission defense system is up, and Soviets denounced the new Star Wars defense system as an act of war and have decided to respawn. And Johnny goes on, why play a game without any winners? And he's going to go do a favor for Sue. He's going to go pick up Franklin because she's not ready to see Reed yet. And he says, how can we not realize how good life could be if only we just let it be? So the whole point of this issue is basically, there's no point in worrying about anything, because if you worry about stuff too much, it doesn't matter, because it will inevitably happen, or it just won't happen, and you lose that time to value life. Just let things be how they should be, and everything will go just as you want it, how life should go. There is no negative effects of just letting the universe be how it is, instead of wasting all your time and losing all that time and losing all that energy, focusing on how you could make a perfect life. But we see NORAD, the Soviet air defense system, is lighting up all over the board. The USSR, why are you taking the aggressive posture? I don't know what your computers are telling you. We haven't launched anything. And the Americas are saying, the computer data is clear. Soviets are firing us. We got to launch back. Nuclear retaliation. On the news, we see, in response to the Soviet threat, the United States has moved to DEFCON 1 for the first time in history. Nuclear war is imminent. Sue is like, this can't be happening. This is terrible. Namor's response is the opposite. At least they're destroying themselves for a chance. Any minute now, the missiles will be here. We have to go. We can start over. And Sue is like, what about Franklin? Fuck you, Namor. I'm leaving. And she dips. We spend our whole lives trying to be on time for surprises. The Fantastic Four going into action to stop this nuclear threat. We wonder why we're always late. You refuse to live until it's too late, and then wonder where all the time went. But time didn't go anywhere, and sadly, neither did we. We see that Sue is actually joining the Fantastic Four again. Fantastic Four back together. Shout out to the Gorillas. What other bands have came back together? The Police, Led Zeppelin, Eagles. Well, the Eagles kind of hate each other. Shout out to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. There you go. We're done. But anyways, multiple heroes are coming together to stop this nuclear threat. We see Iron Man. We see Spider-Man in his black suit. He is with Venom at the time. And we see Thor. The good thing about endings, about realizing you're out of time, is that at the moment, there's no denying what's important. That in the end, all we have is each other. And that your family is whoever stands by you till the end. And we see that they ask, what's your response from the Kremlin? Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to fire back? The response will shock you. But yes, they did fire back. The Fantastic Four sit there and like, we think we got them all. And then we see the last missile shoot up. It's too late. We'll never catch it in time. Correction. Johnny can catch it in time. He flames on, runs over there, or flies over there. Can't follow into the stratosphere. Not enough oxygen for me there. But I have a pretty good idea of where it's heading. Everything we think we know, everything we think we can do, it's all just party tricks. But from time to time, a good party trick can come in handy. It's so beautiful. I was stupid for taking all of this for granted. Maybe maturity is mostly just realizing what a jerk you've been. And growing up is just admitting that something matters to you. Maybe despite my best efforts, I did grow up, which I assure you is the most dangerous thing you will ever do. And what did Johnny do besides follow it up into the stratosphere? He predicted where it was going to land and let him absorb it. And Johnny falls to the ground. He responds he can't see. His whole body is turning into ash. Life is a party, and the key to being a good party guest is to not stay too long. No one wants you to hang around while they're washing the dishes. It's better to be a guy who leaves after an hour or two while he's still interesting, the guy who leaves. And we see that the Fantastic Four hold on to Johnny Storm as he disintegrates into ash and dies. Johnny Storm, also known as the Human Torch, dead at the age of 40. A city mourns its fallen hero. In light of this, both the US and the Soviet Union have agreed to complete an immediate nuclear disarmament, an agreement made by the possibility by discovering that the American defense system had been compromised by the Logic Corporation and its CEO, Jose Santini, who's of now an international fugitive. Who would that be? It's the Mad Thinker and Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom informs, hey, I think you should return to your homeland of Cupertino. And the Mad Thinker responds, actually, I think I'll just stay. And Dr. Doom says, don't worry, I guess you will stay, and locks him in. The Fantastic Four host a funeral. If I have to die someday, which I imagine I will, I hope people won't think that I stayed too long, that I left while it was still interesting, while people were still asking, who's that guy? But even if you leave the party unannounced, that's okay, because the party carries on without us. Rest in peace, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, brother, uncle, hero, friend. So that's the end of the Fantastic Four Life Story, Issue 3, The 80s. Next, we will be going into Life Story Volume 4, or Issue 4, The 90s. Thank you all for listening, watching, however you choose to enjoy this. Comment, like, subscribe. I love reading everybody's comments, everybody's everything. Thank you all for supporting. This one was kind of a little bit of a downer issue, but I enjoyed it. I'm a little sick, that's why I'm like more soft-spoken, and my voice is a little bit deeper than normal, but thank you for listening. I'll see you next time. Peace out.